It started with a tip that was just a little too small to ignore, and a look in someone's eyes that told me everything I needed to know even before I understood what kind of trouble I was stepping into. That morning, the bell above the door of Mason's Grill rang like it always did, sharp and tired, announcing another customer and another reason for me to smile, like my life wasn't slowly collapsing behind the scenes. I had learned how to do that smile years ago. You know the one. Friendly, harmless, invisible. The kind people don't question because they already decided who you are before you even open your mouth. My name is Claire Nolan. At least that's the name on the apron I wore back then. I was 27, working double shifts in a town most people only passed through on their way somewhere better. If you asked anyone who I was, they'd say the waitress, maybe the quiet one, maybe the girl who works too hard. No one ever guessed how close I was to losing everything, or how much anger I carried around packed tight under politeness and cheap sneakers. That morning, an older man walked in alone. He didn't look rich. That's important. He looked worn. Brown jacket with frayed cuffs, boots that had seen better decades, hair more silver than gray. He sat at the corner booth by the window, the one people avoided because the heater barely worked there. I brought him coffee, and he looked at me like I'd done something unexpected just by asking how his morning was. We talked a little. Nothing deep. Weather, road conditions, the usual safe stuff. He ordered eggs and toast. Simple. When he left, he placed 3 crumpled bills on the table. $5 total, on a $12 check. I stood there for a second staring at it. Not because I was offended, because I understood exactly what it meant. Some people think tipping small says more about money than manners. They're wrong. It says everything about how they see you, and in that moment I had a choice. Pocket it, shrug it off, or do what my dad used to tell me when things felt unfair. You don't answer disrespect by becoming smaller, so I took that $5 and dropped it into the clear jar by the register, the one labeled, "For anyone who needs it." The jar I had started after a kid came in hungry and left with just water because he couldn't pay. I didn't know the man was watching. I didn't know his name was Harold Whitmore, or that his net worth had more zeros than I could picture. I didn't know he'd been driving town to town for months, sitting in diners like mine, testing people in quiet ways because grief had hollowed him out and he didn't trust the world anymore. All I knew was that something in his eyes softened when he saw me walk away. My life outside that diner was chaos. My younger brother Evan had medical bills from an accident that never stopped growing. The house we grew up in was 3 months from foreclosure. I slept 4 hours a night if I was lucky. People like me don't get safety nets. We get lectures about working harder. So when Harold came back the next day, and the next, and the next, I didn't think much of it. Just another regular. Another lonely person who liked hot coffee and being remembered. He tested me in ways I didn't recognize at first. Left cash on the table and watched what I did with it. Dropped a wallet near the counter. Mentioned a fake sob story about losing everything just to see if my face changed. It didn't. Not because I was pretending, because I'd already lost enough to know what it felt like, and maybe that was the problem. The day everything cracked open was the day he told me his real name. Not the diner version, the real one. He said it casually, like it didn't matter, like it wasn't tied to corporations and lawyers and private planes. When I looked it up later, my stomach dropped. I felt stupid, played, angry at myself for letting my guard down. I confronted him in the parking lot after my shift, hands shaking, heart racing. "You lied to me," I said. "You watched me. You tested me." He didn't deny it. He just nodded and said I needed to know if kindness still existed when no one was watching. That should have been the end. I told him to leave, to stop coming, to stop messing with my life. And for a moment I thought he would. But kindness is a dangerous thing when it collides with power. Because once someone like Harold decides you matter, the world notices. And not everyone likes that. Enter Victor Whitmore. His son. Polished. Sharp. The kind of man who speaks in calm sentences that feel like threats. He showed up at the diner one afternoon in a tailored suit that didn't belong there, eyes scanning the room like something smelled wrong. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't have to. "You're Claire," he said, like it was a diagnosis. He accused me of manipulating his father, of positioning myself, of playing poor to get rich. I laughed at first because it sounded ridiculous. Then I realized he was serious. From that moment on, my life stopped being quiet. Rumors spread. People looked at me differently. The same customers who used to smile suddenly watched me like I was stealing silverware. Someone vandalized the diner one night. Someone leaked a story to the local paper about a mysterious waitress influencing a wealthy, elderly man. Harold tried to help. That made it worse. Every act of support became evidence. Every conversation became suspicious. Then the diner burned down. I was arrested 2 hours later, handcuffed in front of my neighbors, accused of arson and insurance fraud. I remember the sound of the cuffs more than anything, the way they clicked shut, final and cold. In that moment, every stereotype people ever believed about me felt like it was pressing down all at once. The quiet girl, the desperate girl, the girl who must have wanted more than she deserved. What saved me wasn't luck. It was truth dragged into the light piece by piece. Security footage. A hired contractor who cracked under pressure. Bank records that pointed straight back to Victor. He had tried to destroy me to protect his inheritance, to erase me from the story. When the charges were dropped, the apology came too late. My name had already been dragged through the mud. Harold collapsed the same week the truth came out. Stress, guilt, a heart that had carried too much grief for too long. While he lay unconscious in a hospital room, lawyers read his revised will. He left the bulk of his fortune to community programs, medical debt relief, food access. And he named me the moral executor, not the owner, not the beneficiary, the guardian of intent. Victor got enough to live comfortably, nothing more. The courtroom was silent when the judge upheld it. Victor stared at me like I'd taken something from him. I hadn't. He'd lost it the moment he decided kindness was a weakness. Harold died 2 days later. I never got to tell him we won, but he left me a letter, and inside it, taped carefully, was a $5 bill, the first one I ever put in the jar. He wrote, "This is when I knew the world hadn't ended yet. Today, the diner is gone. In its place is a community kitchen that feeds anyone who walks in, no questions asked. Evan's medical bills are paid. The house is safe, and my life is louder now, messier, more complicated. I get praised and doubted in equal measure. Some people still think I was lucky. Others think I was dangerous. So let me ask you this. If someone tests your kindness when you're already drowning, do you protect yourself or do you give anyway? And if the world punishes you for choosing compassion, does that make you wrong? Or does it prove exactly why kindness matters? Tell me what you think. I want to hear it.